Pod, your source for everything esports and gaming. We have a jam-packed night for you. Here's what you could expect. Lisa's back, which means that she's taking on Marissa in Unmuted. Then we're gonna look at tips from the top with Wild Turtle. And later on, Matt and Lisa are talking League and esports in 30. But first, you know how it goes. Here's the news and reported. We're 2 months away from E3, which means it's time for every major video game publisher to slowly announce their plans for the event. And for Nintendo, those plans include the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and Splatoon 2 World Championships. Nintendo will host the championships for both games on June 8th in advance of E3. The competitions will feature players from North America, Europe, Japan, and Australia, New Zealand. This is the second year that Smash Ultimate and Splatoon 2 will feature in tournaments around E3. The World Championship for Splatoon 2 was held for the first time at last year's E3, and Nintendo showcased Ultimate in a special invitational the same week. While we don't know the format of the tournaments just yet, Nintendo will announce more details in the weeks ahead. The changes to Cloud9's CSGO team aren't stopping anytime soon. In what is definitely not an April Fool's joke, the NA org announced that it is releasing Kiyoshima from his contract effective immediately. He is the third player who has left Cloud9 in the past month, following the departure of Flusha and Zelsis a few weeks ago. This also means that Cloud9 is in danger of losing its spot in the Star Ladder Berlin Major. Rules state that a team must have 3 players on its roster who qualify for the major in order to compete. Technically speaking, Kiyoshima, Flusha, and Zelsis could claim Cloud9's spot if they decide to compete together. Cloud9 is set to compete at Blast Pro Series Miami in just over a week, and with only 4 players signed to its active roster, has a lot of work cut out for it. Sometimes, video game developers do something that is so heartwarming, you can't help but smile. That's exactly the case with Bethesda, who announced that YouTube sensation Shirley Curry, also known as Skyrim Grandma, will appear in The Elder Scrolls 6. Curry, who is currently 82 years old, started posting videos of herself playing Skyrim to YouTube in 2016. When one of those videos was posted to Reddit, Curry quickly rose to fame and attracted a loyal following. After The Elder Scrolls 6 was announced at E3 last year, fans started a petition to put Curry in the game. And during The Elder Scrolls 25th anniversary livestream, Bethesda revealed that it heard those fans and would put Curry in the game as an NPC. While there's no release date yet, Curry's fans will be able to finally meet her, or at least her avatar, in The Elder Scrolls 6 in a few years. You know what, I like the fact that Nintendo's following up with tournaments around E3. It's a good sign, but I'm wondering what else is going to be at E3 because a lot of people are pulling out. Let us know what you want to see at E3 on our socials. In a bit, we're going to look at League tips with Wild Turtle in Tips from the Top. But first, I'm curious to see if Marissa or Lisa will get muted today in Unmuted. Let's check it out.
Welcome to Unmuted. We got your gaming and esports hot topics, hot tweets, and if I may be so bold, hot ladies.
Oh my God, she's a hot lady, Marissa Roberto, and I'm a spicier lady, Lisa Duan, and this is how the show's going to work. So producer Tyler in the back got 2 minutes on the board for each topic, and we will present and possibly, most likely, argue. Luckily for all of us, there's a mute button only to be used when one of us gets out of line.
Shout out to chat. Obviously, we like it when you call us out when we're wrong and praise us when we're spitting truth. Let's get right to it with some Apex Legends. It started off with a bug that some say ruined the Apex Legends tournament. During the Apex Legends Code Red tournament, a game-breaking bug allowed pro Apex player Rogue to use his weapon while he was down. This pretty much saved the match for his team, and those kills and win allowed him to tie fellow streamer I'm a T-Pies record. Oh, I'm a Cutie Pies. You
totally butchered that.
I'm a Cutie Pies record. Yeah. Okay, whatever, listen. I got it. But because Rogue won more matches, he got to advance. While I'm a Cutie Pie fans cried foul, Rogue faced no repercussions and continued to play in the tournament. Lisa, do you think Rogue should not have been punished?
I think you should get punished for how you butchered that name. That was so bad.
Anyways.
That was so bad.
I'm gonna mute it right now. No, I feel like he should definitely be punished.
No.
What?
It's not the player's fault, it's the game's fault. It's what? No, it's like the player should not get punished for exploiting a bug that is in the game. However, I do think the organizer or the game, developer should be like, okay, well, that game broke the tournament, so it shouldn't count. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it kind of nullifies the integrity of the tournament. But the player himself should not get punished.
Yeah, I love how you're going for the old don't hate the player, hate the game argument.
Right.
Which I can't disagree with, because I too think that you should not hate the player, you should hate the game. But I still feel like there should be some kind of level of respect for his fellow gamers. I feel like maybe, yes, for his team he saved it, but if he knows it was wrong, should they not kind of take him down a couple notches? Should they not maybe replay the match? Should they not maybe think that, I don't know, it should be even Steven?
That doesn't logistically make sense. What do you mean replay the match? It's over. Like, the tournament's done. You can't, you want to go back and get that venue again and get everything?
No, just restart that one match that they played where he was down, he was able to shoot someone.
Okay, let's bring this to traditional sports. What happens if this happens in a traditional game?
Well, sometimes there's a video play review where they go to the videotape and they review it, and then they take
during
back the calls.
Match.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there was a situation recently with the NFL playoffs where there was a situation where a team definitely should have won, but they did anyway because there was there was no call on a play that should have been called. So everybody was up in arms because they feel like one team got in that shouldn't have been there. Now, because of that, they've redone the rules. There's actually going to be a pass play interference call that you can actually call. So it might actually make the games longer, but it's just important that everybody plays fair.
That's in so later, next tournament, they will make sure that this bug in this Apex Legends game won't be used again. But I don't think Rogue should be punished.
Okay, whatever.
That
the punishment is we're kind of like, okay,
whatever. Let's, you guys let us know in chat what you guys think, because that one's a really interesting topic. Now, switching over to League of Legends, one of the most legendary Korean teams is struggling. KT Rolster has missed the LCK playoffs for the first time since 2015. Not only that, but KT is currently facing relegation for the first time in its history. Though the team has been a regular fixture at Worlds for the past few years, KT only finished the 2019 spring split with the 4-14 record. And with some great teams coming up through Challenger, that means we might not see KT compete in the summer split at all. Whoa. So Marissa, as a fan of the Toronto Maple Leafs, how does it feel like?
Where's this going?
I'm
scared.
Did
we create this question? I swear to God, Nicholas.
No, okay, so, a once great team and organization, it's been through tough times. So as a fan, how does that make you feel? I'm not gonna savagely rip into Toronto Maple Leafs fans.
Okay, first of all, this shouldn't be about Maple Leafs at all. It should be about the Ottawa Senators, because they're actual garbage trash, even though the Leafs lost them this weekend, but it's fine. We don't need to get into that. Listen, I understand that to have an org or to have a team that's up there so high and so revered and have them fall from grace, like, it sucks. But listen, you can't always be on top. There's always got to be some kind of innovation made. There's always a start from scratch scenario, which is exactly what, to relate it back to sports, is kind of happening with the Blue Jays right now too. Like, we had a moment where maybe we were going to be at the top, and then of course it all goes to garbage, and we got to start again. So maybe this is exactly what needs to happen with KT Rolster. I don't know. I guess, like, maybe you can tell me. I'm just not sure, like, if it's the players, if it's the org, if it's the coaches, like, what exactly is the inherent problem?
That's the thing with KT, is like, on paper they always had the best talent. They have great talent, but for some reason they were never able to piece it all together. But in the regular splits, like, they've had great results, but for some reason when it comes down to, like, whether it's Worlds or the high pressure, where the stakes actually matter, they've never managed to just pull it off. And so that's so sad to hear KT Rolster kind of going down. And what's more interesting is that LCK still has a relegation system, whereas you see LEC and the LCS, they now have, I guess, franchising, so they don't do relegation anymore. But now in Korea, they still have, they're not franchised, so there's still relegation.
And there's still so many teams.
There's so many teams, and the top talent is coming from this region. So it's interesting to, potentially some of the biggest orgs might fade from existence, and that's so sad.
That's kind of, I mean, it is sad, but for us, like, we mostly, like, from my outside perspective of League looking in, like, I mostly pay attention to NA or EU, right? So what needs to happen then in this whole league to make sure that they kind of have see their resurgence? Like, I'm not sure what they can do.
But things with LCK, like, KT might be suffering, but it's still LCK. the best region, you know, people would say in league. So they're doing something right. So maybe relegation works for them.
Just not KT.
But a side question. So do you just like to always cheer for like bad teams, like poor performance teams?
Are you serious?
I'm curious because you said Maple Leafs and okay, I think.
Shut up, Lisa. Moving on to some investment news. Trust me, this is actually pretty cool. Drake is diving into esports again. The Canadian rapper has invested in Players Lounge, an online platform that lets players wager money in matches against each other. Drizzy has previously thrown some cash at 100 Thieves, though he first entered esports by playing with Ninja in Fortnite last year. I don't know if that counts as esports really, but that's fine. Quick question then, Lisa. Does Drake make an esport? Does he make esports cooler, or does it make Drake cooler, or how does this work exactly?
First of all, the fact that he put money into 100 Thieves and they performed in League of Legends poorly. I don't know if we should respect his opinion on esports betting because it sounds like he doesn't know what he's doing.
I feel like most people, they don't really know. Honestly, people who have money don't really know what they're doing when it comes to esports. Like they hear this buzzword esports, they get excited, they see other, people with deep pockets investing in certain teams, so that's where they go to. Like people in this space don't really know, especially with these big pockets, these fat cats, like they're doing other things. They've got all these different portfolios. They're spreading it around and they see, the guy next to them investing in 100 Thieves. Okay, well, I'm gonna do that too because all the celebrities are going there. It's just like, it's all about the brand basically at this point and less about the winning, because right now, I don't think they're expecting any kind of ROI. They're not expecting any kind of return on investment at this point in time. They see a brand, they see somebody that's an amazing face of that brand too, and he's taking the org in a good direction. So I get why he would do that. I don't think that Drake makes esports cooler, but he does bring more eyes to it. He brings more investors to it. He brings more people thinking that maybe they want to get into esports too.
Okay, I'm gonna get a lot of hate for what I'm about to say.
Let's go.
But I think Drake doesn't make anything cooler. Listen, I like his music, okay? Like his music is good, but I feel like he just tries so hard and he's so lame. Like,
I'm not gonna mute her. I'm gonna let her dig herself out of this one.
Can I mute myself? Can I mute myself? I wanna mute myself. I'm gonna stop. I'm not saying anything.
You cannot mute yourself. You're trying to change the rules here, especially when the next throw is yours. I'm not having any of this, Lisa Dewan. No, she can't. Tyler, she cannot mute herself. This is not how the rules work. She can just come back after a week away, and then she's gonna run this show. Lisa Dewan, listen, whatever. She really didn't mute herself. Fine. Drake has his moments. He's, I think, a really great Canadian in the sense that he does put Canada on the map, and he does put Toronto on the map in, a really great way. And don't really rise at me, Lisa. Listen, I get why some people don't like him, but he did kind of change the way that people enjoy different kinds of rap music, and he brought people in.
I don't want to talk about Drake anymore. I'm not.
He also made Ninja a star. Let's be fair, Ninja was somewhere, but
Drake
he made Ninja
next. All right. Lastly, fighting game commentator and all-around good guy Gutex took to Twitter over the weekend to talk about the future of fighting games. Ooh, this is interesting. So specifically, he thinks that a genre will be created in the future that will put the skills learned in fighting games to new use. Gutex pointed out that many old Halo and Counter-Strike pros are applying the skills they learned in those games to battle royales, which is a genre that didn't exist 10 years ago. Ooh. So do you think he's onto something here? Like the prophecy, like he's predicting the future here.
Maybe.
Wait, is there a fighting game battle royale? Like is that, you know what I mean? Like just hundreds of different fighting game characters go at it, and the last one survives.
I don't know, man. Like, are we not burnt out? Good idea. Are we not burnt out of BRs at this point? Like,
are we not burnt out of MOBAs? Are we not burnt out of card games?
Okay. Well, that's what I'm saying.
I'm burnt out of Clash Royale, and you talking about it.
Okay. I wasn't gonna bring it up. I spent a lot of time this weekend though. I played in a tournament. I unlocked some things. I got a new Legends character. It's fine. Anyway, no, I'm not sure. I think that he's maybe onto something. I do respect him, and I think that maybe he's got something going there. Also, he's got to legitimize and give more of a platform to people that have been competing in the FGC for a long time now. Like these guys have put so much time, so much energy, and they don't get enough love from, like, obviously their community they do, but from the outside world looking in, no, not really. Like they get excited about this BR world. So let's go to BR. So maybe if this is a way for them to legitimize themselves in the mainstream space, then sure.
I think this is talking about like transferable playing skills, right? So with fighting games, obviously they can hop from one fighting game to another relatively easier than other pros, I guess. But do the skills extend outside of fighting games? For example, we see the pros in the fighting game community loving Tetris, right? Like that's a weird one you don't really connect.
That's true.
So, you played Tetris 99. I know you're so good at it.
No, you play too.
I played one time. Which,
pretty
by
good
the way,
that one time.
First game, I finished 17th place. I just want to fact.
It's fine. When you crack top 10, like, then we can talk.
This girl, one time.
Twice. twice, okay? Top 5 twice. Come at me, girl.
But like, where's the transferable skills there? You know?
I mean, I don't know. I have no idea how those transfer. I don't know if like maybe they can then migrate to this space. I would like to see it, or if they can somehow use their fight stick if that's their controller of choice in like another way. Because they are very talented when it comes to these games, so it's got to be transferable somehow.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll have to wait and see what
use
game in the future. All right, now it's time to see what streamers are up to in Clip It. Our first clip comes from offline TV manager Edison, who decided to let BoxBox play Sekiro for the first time, and this happened.
Oh, back up, back up, back up. Jump, 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 jump. Holy what the You just beat him!
Is it over?
Yeah, you just beat him! What the hell?
I like that reaction. Wait, that was it?
Is it over?
Is it over?
Like making it look so easy.
Yeah, was that a boss? Like I haven't played any Sekiro
I haven't
games.
played any Sekiro. I've seen a lot of people complaining about it on Twitter just because of how difficult it is. And then also there was some issue with the cloud save system with somebody too. Like they were like they just progressed super far. And to imagine progressing in a game like that and then have it not save properly and you have to go back and start again at some point.
I would not start again.
I would seriously just rage quit and not go back. Like that game is way too hard to try again.
Oh no.
Honestly, I can't. So like obviously kudos. That was amazing.
So BoxBox is known for League of Legends. He streams, plays League of Legends, cosplays as well, very well. Don't get too excited, Marissa! But it's kind of cool that once again we're talking about transferable skills. It's like he can just hop from League to this other game and just kill it. It looks like a boss. That was a boss fight that was pretty intense.
I don't know. We don't play. I don't want to say what's a boss and what's not a boss. Maybe.
Okay, relax. Maybe in the chat. Let us know.
In the chat. Our next hit comes from NorCal Regionals, where we found out Punk doesn't give a damn about professional space or personal space.
It's just sitting right here.
Both of these e-athletes want to show off their figures. Get the guns out, lads.
Oh my God.
Smart, listen. Punk, right? Oh, this is my chair now.
Wow, Punk just took Smug's chair. He claimed that chair in the name of reciprocity.
Okay.
That is the cutest BM
I love
ever.
that so much. Punk went on to actually win that match. So, I mean,
hilarious.
is claiming your space maybe the way to go?
I'm gonna put my cup here while I'm at it.
Okay,
Hold on.
that cup is disgusting. I'm pretty sure that's Brody's.
Where's my phone?
Like, I'm pretty positive this has been used by Brody Moore. Get that away from me.
Yeah, I don't want this
No, listen. I love Punk. I love Smug.
So
like
good.
Seeing those two on stage together makes me so happy. And obviously they have a relationship. Like they're just playing it up. Smug is playing it up for the camera too. But I kind of love it.
You love
FGC needs that.
No, that's the kind of personality that I think makes everyone love the FGC. Where is that in League of Legends? Where is that in? Well, not just League of Legends, like all of them. Like that's the kind of, I guess, playful banter. We don't have to be mean to banter, right? We can just have fun like that, you know?
Are you gonna take your own advice?
Yeah, you know, I'm sitting next to producer Tyler, so if he annoys me, I'm gonna start loading my stuff right onto his desk. I've already pushed him to the edge of his desk, so I'm gonna see how far I can push it. Hey,
we'll
Tyler.
give you some BTS later. Follow us on our socials to check that out. And now it's time. Well, it's actually my favorite time, and maybe yours too, when we take the things the pros have been saying on the Twitters and put them on blast for our own amusement. We begin today's blast with CSGO Pro and Heavy Fragger Simple because he has some words for you boohoo crybabies all over Valve's changes. He says Valve can do whatever they want. It's their game. They can add any map. They can remove any map. They can change any weapon. Understand this already, please. And instead of crying in social media, just keep working hard in any different situation. Now, Simple, to me, obviously is an incredible player. He obviously has adapted several times to make sure that he stays on top. And I heed his words. I think that he has some great advice out there because a lot of people have been complaining. Even in Fortnite, like a lot of people have been complaining about certain changes. So, I mean, the developers can't technically do it's their game.
Yeah, but I disagree with what he says.
Why?
Because that's what leads to like tyranny. You know what I mean? Like that's literally like, listen, it's their game. They can do whatever they want. But who are they making it for? They're making it for their customers. And if they don't want their customers or their consumers to be happy, then they literally are just hurting themselves.
Okay,
right?
But you need to remember that they are making changes, yeah, for themselves, but it's not self-serving. It's self-serving because they'll make more money.
Yeah.
Right? It's all about money. Always remember that. Whenever something's confusing to you, just remember that it's all about money. So, especially in the case of Fortnite, everybody's complaining about the changes they made. They're like catering to casuals or catering to noobs. Like, dudes, they're doing this because they make more money off of these players. I literally got into an argument on Twitter with this dude saying, there's no way that casuals spend more money than these professionals playing that are 6 to 8 hours a day minimum. I'm like, but they already have all the skins. Like, they're good. They're focusing now on kids that have their mommy and daddy's credit card. Look up White Whale, because White Whale is how most freemium games, anything that's free, makes money, okay? Just look that up and you'll understand why companies go that route, because this is the kind of thing that lines their pockets and makes them live that drippy lifestyle.
It's all about the money. To summarize,
yep.
It's all about the money.
That's right.
All right, let's move on. Here's something from Tinder. Introducing the thing you never asked for but definitely always wanted, Tinder height verification. Coming soon. Dr. Lupo calls Courage out, telling him to uninstall, and Courage can only reply with, Lamau, I hate you. I hate you. Wait, so how short is Courage? I actually don't know.
So Courage is just a little shorter. I'm 5'6". He's like a little shorter than me. I would say he's 5'5", maybe.
That's why he has such a big personality.
Oh,
he makes up
no, like the thing is, yeah, they were all over. Like Tinder obviously put this commercial out. They were all over.
Wait,
like,
is that for real?
It's for real. Tinder has introduced. If you use Tinder,
I have never been on Tinder, so I
mean,
don't know.
Neither have I. But like, no shade to you if you have.
No shade at all.
But yeah, height verification.
Why? Is there saying
They're saying that no one asked for it, but that's got to be a lie. Why would they put it in there if no one asked for it? Like, clearly girls are salty that they're going to dates and because they have, you know, expectations, they want a man to be taller than them. These are just like societal pressures, okay? You don't have to date a man that's taller than you. You can date a man that's shorter than you, as long as he's got a good personality. What's your problem? You feel? Lisa doesn't agree with me.
I'm just surprised that there's actually a height verification thing now.
Don't lie.
Listen,
would you date a guy shorter than you? Don't lie.
Listen, you can't put me on blast for this, okay? Next!
All right, I'll get her to answer one way or another. Listen, we have a next one from Hugs because he's always got to make it in. So a new tweet from Hugs incoming. Hey, don't do this. I'll probably block you, okay? Look at the dummy DMing him gamer girl feet on different days, each one earlier in the morning than the last. Like, that is messed up.
Hold up.
Sicky.
Wait, hold up. So
Straight
is asking from him, they want...
No, they're just spamming him one day, gamer girl feet, next day, gamer girl feet, next day, gamer girl feet. Like, earlier and earlier in the morning, like a sickie? Wait, sickies.
Why are you pointing out early in the morning? Is that like the
I don't know, maybe he like wakes up
changed?
thinking, oh, gamer girl feed, I'm gonna send this to Hugs, it's gonna be hilarious. And there's like just another one just like, hi. Listen, I get random DMs like that too, just saying hi. I'm not gonna accept it and say hi back. Like, you should know that. I keep my DMs open for business purposes, okay? This is how most people in esports work. We like to keep our DMs open, and that's just how we get gigs, and we just interact with professionals in this space. If you're sending
an ad for gamer feet, you should at least include the price before. If you want a response.
You're like, yo, I need to know how much money.
Yeah, you will not respond unless you put the amount first.
And then we'll talk deep.
Just for research purposes. Anyway, it's time for some crowd control, where we casually share things we find interesting on the interwebs. First up, Rocket League is doing April Fool's Day right with a little addition to its match select screen. Okay. All right, so courtesy of Shitty Watercolor, yes, that's actually his handle, we now know how a visual representation of each play mode in Fantastic Watercolor form is. Ooh.
I love that 1v1 duel. Okay.
I like how multicultural it is.
Okay, you know what? I love Shitty Watercolor so much, and I don't even think, that should be like an April Fool's joke. I think it should just be real life. Like, We Dem Girls had Shitty Watercolor's graphic as their logo. I thought it was amazing. Like, I think he's such an amazing staple in the Rocket League community that I would love to see more of this. I think he's super talented.
We should ask him to draw one of you.
Well, no, I mean, just of us in general. That would be such an honor. Honestly, that would be such an honor.
Yo, call out. Call it right there.
Jenny, we want you. We want you, Jenny. Next up is the cutest cosplay you'll see all day. This is from Reddit user Sass Design. It's a picture of a kid meeting Mike Tyson dressed as Little Mac from Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Unfortunately, shortly after this picture was taken, Mike knocked him unconscious with one punch.
That's not a fact,
Seriously, yeah, it was a hard game.
Oh.
Wow. It was a
you mean he knocked him out in game?
In game.
I mean in person. I'm like, what? He's punching babies? That wasn't clear in the script.
That's so cute. Okay, so obviously I have to know, Lisa, have you seen, like, what's the coolest cosplay you've seen?
Oh, that's really tough, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, with the cosplay, we've been to some conventions now, and I've been to some events. I feel, my best cosplay memory. I was at a League of Legends, I think it was like finals or something. And so I was interviewing like a fan, doing a Streeter thing, and he was dressed up as Shaco, one of the characters, so he looks like a clown. And while I'm interviewing this guy, all of a sudden behind me, another Shaco appeared.
Oh my God.
So another guy who was cosplaying Shaco appeared. And then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna play this off. Yo, what's up? Doing two interviews. And then another Shaco appeared. I'm like, I'm getting ganked by Shacos, and this is so real. Like, if you've ever played League and you get ganked by Shaco, like this is how it feels. You know, like he's just everywhere.
My God.
That's my best cosplay.
That is literally a nightmare situation for me.
It was really scary.
No,
the footage out there somewhere you guys can go
I
find.
mean, listen, let us know in chat if you want to see us do our own cosplay, because I'm trying to convince Lisa Duan.
She keeps. Wait, David, I didn't use the mute button.
You use it on you. Technically, you could use it on me.
We need to work out the rules. See, I'm exploiting the rules of the game.
You use mine on you. So really, I use it.
Oh, whatever. I'm just gonna use it because why not? All right. So our last little bit of crowd control comes from Mers Studio. I love this account on Instagram. Let's check it out. So with the simple caption, if men's armor looked like women's in games, and I especially really like the crotch part and the feather earrings. Like that's really delicate. Do you like the little blush? Oh wait, you can't tell. But did you see the little blush? First of all, like ripped 8-pack going on. Very delicately placed golden armor cup. Like I think it's just so perfect. Like, I think with games, you can see, you're enjoying it. You're back. Okay, then what was your impression of?
I think it's really funny. When you see like women with armor, like especially, it hasn't really happened as much lately, but you know, a couple of years ago, you'd see women in armor, but like, I love how like there was armor, but they'd still have like nipples. Yeah. On the armor,
it's like to be protected apparently, you know? Like the top half of the breast don't need armor apparently.
It's like the George Clooney Batman where like he had nipples in his armor. Like guys, you don't need a special pocket for your nipples. Like it's fine, they can be squished.
You know the trick though. We don't need the little nipple nubbins because I just call them nubbins. The trick is that the earlobes. You follow the earlobes down, and that's where the nipple.
What?
Hack, guys.
Sorry, I don't know. I don't know how to speak to me cake. Okay, listen. I do, Lisa, first of all, love that you're back.
Aww.
Makes me so happy.
I miss you guys. I miss you guys so much. You don't even know. I was like kind of creeping, lurking a little.
Oh my God, that makes me so happy. I love when she creeps me. Listen, you can creep us too. You can also let us know who you think won the battle today in the chat. Press 1 for me and 2 for Duan, but mostly just 1 for the ones down right now. Do all them.
Button twice.
What? Yeah. I gave yourself. Listen, follow all the socials at Squad State. We'll see you next time.
That is fucking beautiful!
So the first tip I have for getting better at League of Legends would actually be, I know it sounds kind of weird, but it's going to be farming. I think learning how to farm is a really big factor of being good at MOBA games because if you know how to farm, you'll have more items, you have more levels, you'll just be ahead of like your counterparts. I think the steps to being good at farming is obviously last hitting. You want to be good at last hitting, wave control. You want to be able to put the wave in a place where you won't be able to get ganked from their jungler and still being comfortable with farming. But sometimes you have to like pull the enemy jungler and still pressure and farm. So that's obviously the more tricky part, and you have to find a balance for it. And I think that just comes from game experience, but people need to know that wave control and farming are really big components in the game. Tip number 2 for you guys is pretty much trading. I think trading is a really big part that people don't do very well that I see. And normally like the best trading points for any lane is when your lane is like slow pushing out and you have a window where the enemy is trying to get a CS they shouldn't be getting, you just like unload on them, just trade on them when they're going out of position to get the CS. I think that tip was like honestly a tip for me that helped me a lot, get a lot better at the game. And I played Annie to do this a lot. I think Annie's really good at zone controlling like CS, so if you guys want to have somewhere to start, Annie would be great. And tip number 3 is positioning. So positioning, a lot of times people don't really understand what positioning really is. And if you're playing a role like AD carry, it's really role dependent, but if you're playing a role like AD carry or like control mage or something that you need to like DPS a lot with, a lot of people, they normally just would go up and start DPSing a lot. But what I would like to do is just like keep my position and zone control. Like if they ever step in a place where I know they shouldn't be, I would like trade and go for really small trades, just HP chunks. So if you're getting someone already low, you're already winning the game, I'd say, because they can't fight anymore if they have low HP. And yeah, I think those are pretty much the 3 fundamentals I would go over and just get better at.
Well, Turtle, thank you for all that great advice. If you have any other league tips for how I could get good at the game, let us know on our socials. In a bit, Lisa and Matt are going to be talking league in esports in 30. But first, let's check out what went down in the green room, fueled by Red Bull.
The chop right here, right here.
Can we serve it? Can we,
Whoa, 1,100! Yeah! Let's go!
That was amazing. Yo. Honestly, I think that's like the best score we've ever got.
Either that one or the burger one that Tyler and I did.
Oh yeah, you guys get a really hard score. I'm so surprised. Like, this is beautiful. Like, I need to screenshot it. Continue.
God.
Is there anything that's you?
Nah, let's just stay here.
What?
Anybody else that comes in, they're just gonna be like, whoa, what is that
Once you get into the flow of the level, that's when it's just like a real kitchen.
It looked like SK may have taken game 4, but Splice come a-knocking. They sweep SK under the map, and they prove that they belong amongst the best teams in the LEC.
FlyQuest will find their fight. All that is golden will not glitter today, and FlyQuest will defeat the Golden Guardians in Game 5.
There's no better time of the year than League of Legends playoffs. I'm Lisa Dwan, and this is Matt Hempstead. And today on Esports in 30, we're going to break down all of the League of Legends playoffs action. Matt, before we get analytical though, what went down this weekend?
There's a bit of everything. I mean, in the playoffs, there's going to be those dominant sweeps. There's going to be some of the, more one-sided things. And then you have the amazing best of 5s that are back and forth, and you have to look at the draft and change everything, change your game plan, and the stress just gets really intense. And we saw it in FlyQuest versus Golden Guardians. There were also, Fnatic didn't really have much of an issue, and that series was over before you knew it.
Yeah.
So it's got a bit of everything, and that's what you're really looking for in the playoffs. You want to see how teams adapt, what teams are just going to soar through the competition, and we've got a bit of everything.
Ooh, that's exciting. All right, so first up on the agenda, we're going to dive deep into the LEC. For those of you who have missed it, don't sweat it. Let's get you all caught up with these highlights.
Just nukes it. Trying to extend that trade, uses the Cutlass for the slow, a few more autos, wants to get forward. Oh, buying a bit more time. Whipple playing that one so well! No! Mowgli trying to find the engage. Jackal here for the fall. They have to be careful though. Unbreakable already used. Attila off to the side. Nemesis looking for the re-engage. They're now backing off. Whipple has used the ultimate. Ultimate now coming in the corner. That's going to be too quick. Hillesang going to keep the ball rolling. Double dropping for Broxa. They want one more. Hillesang flashing forward. Looking for that auto. Will not be able to grab it. But the ultimate is there from Nemesis. The engage is clean. But Fnatic, they are simply too far ahead in this game. They set their sights on the Nexus, and they're going to take game 1. This is real bad for Vitality. Over. Reckless on the way off. Paul's going to take a little bit of CC, and Kaiser's going to come flying in. And there it is. Reckless on cleanup duty.
There's a very brief window of time where Vitality have control over the map because of the mistake.
Immediately Cabo trying to leap in. Brock's not going to get taken down though. Cabo goes gold, but in the middle of the team, there's no ultimate available. He's just going to get taken out. Meanwhile, on the backside, until he gets 1, going to try to find 2, but the stopwatch is there for Blippo. Fnatic absolutely dominating across both of these games. They are 1 win away from taking the series. Kale now coming down. Ultimate could just be used on Blippo to keep him alive, and it will be. Cabostar now going to find himself in trouble. The stacks are going to come in for the Kale. Once he gets those flame waves, it's going to be so much harder. You can see Mowgli taking so much damage.
Oh my, look, he's literally on the Nexus 1v3. He does not care.
Comes in, he's just going to keep it going. Does he get the chance to use the ultimate as well? He does. That's the double kill. Wants a few more. They're walking right into the fountain. They just keep beating him. That's the Quadra. Is he going to get the Penta? I cannot believe it!
Penta kill for Nemesis. The series is over.
And a reminder to all of Europe, Fnatic did not come into this split to compete. They came to dominate.
Stacking now. Oh my god, wait a second.
Just melted underneath the tower. Well, it gets the 1v1. Here now coming in from the side. Featherstone
this is huge.
Look at the damage, and already Humanoid is dead. Well, they're coming in with the Onslaught of Shadows. They'll get 2 as the shutdown for Period. And now Xerxes caught out. Norskaven fighting so mid up towards the top side. Xerxes going to fall as well. It's another shutdown for SK. They're going to take 4 for nothing. And in a game of inches. It looks like SK are the ones to strike first. The shutdown comes out from Crowdshot, and they were an inch away from losing, but SK take game one. They're on to period, but he shuffles them back with the soldiers. Organic destruction from Kobe as they take down one, and they're just going to clean them all up. Splice rout SK. SK had one shot, and they missed it by a mile, and Splice take them all out. Kobe, Infinity Edge does all the work. Kobe almost died. There we go. He void rushes in, but the Stand United is too much. North Scareman very low. You can see Humanoid ticking away on the tormented soil. Kobe trying to get on towards that front line, gets the shutdown onto period. Now he's on Crowdshot. The Stand United is enough. Will it keep him alive? He gets away from the back of the fight, and Dreams goes down as well. It's a double kill for Kobe. Splice. It looked like SK may have taken game 4, but Splice come a-knocking. They sweep SK under the map, and they prove that they belong amongst the best teams in the LEC.
Fnatic and Splice won their respective series, and they're moving on in the LEC playoffs. To break down those matchups, we've got NicoThePico joining us. How's it going?
Things are good. Can't complain at all.
That's awesome. Now let's start with that very dominant showing from Fnatic over Vitality. How were they able to absolutely dominate Vitality and sweep the series?
Wait, did Vitality actually play?
Oh. Oh, man.
Oh, God.
Too savage.
I personally wish that Misfits was the team that actually met Fnatic here. I think that that would have been a way greater series, especially with the players that Misfits have and a lot of experience and people who actually show up in playoffs like Soaz, like Forbidden.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like Vitality just weren't ready, and you saw the difference in discipline that Fnatic has, and when they're drafting fully for the scaling and always having outscaling compositions, putting a lot of pressure on Vitality, who were drafting very heavily on the early game, especially for the first match. They just weren't able to actually get enough of a lead to actually snowball off of it, and the discipline on Fnatic's side just shone through the entire series. And I felt like after the first match, and especially when they gave Karthus again for game number 2, and Fnatic wins 2 in a row, Fnatic can bring down their shoulders and just take it out cleanly, and they just held the discipline throughout the third game as well, and it was just a clean sweep.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, going into the series, I actually thought Vitality's game 1 draft was pretty decent, but then you go into the game and you see all these mistakes that Vitality's making, like overdiving Bwipo time after time, and just being over-aggressive when the bot lane knows that the enemy team is close by doing the Dragon. So, I mean, a lot of it was Fnatic played really well, but also Vitality just, they looked absolutely sloppy, making mistakes everywhere. Do you think that this game was like Fnatic actually playing really well, or was it just Vitality's faltering and then Fnatic took over?
If you look again at the draft in game 1, you will see that Vitality is completely all-inning their early game.
Mm-hmm.
So if they do not win the early game really, really, really hard and secure Dragons and secure Heralds and get all the auditors like in 15 minutes, the game is just going to be over.
Mm-hmm.
And the Fnatic bot lane and the vision control that Fnatic put out on the lower half of the map was so good that it was really hard for Vitality to find entrances. So the only actual open spot for them to do stuff was on Bwipo. And you know, it doesn't even matter. Even if they kill him every single time they dive him, if they're not able to turn it into Dragons, if they're not able to turning into tier 1 towers, then they're not going to be able to do anything. And they just needed to snowball so incredibly hard. And Fnatic knew that. So Fnatic were just playing safely. Like, Vitality needs to snowball. Let's not give them the snowball. Let's play defensively. Let's put up the vision control and let's play disciplined.
This makes me wonder, though, because like choosing to play that way means that Vitality don't have, I guess, they're not strong in the late game, or they feel like they can't beat Fnatic in the late game, which is why they went all in on their early game. But is that the right way to approach, a series that Fnatic are known for, being calm and keeping their cool for the late game? So like, what rationale went behind that strategy? Maybe calling out the coach on Vitality. Why this strategy? Why this plan?
I think normally when you see playoff matches, the first match of playoff matches is usually really, really, really defensive, really slow, and it's like a slow burner game. I think that Yamarakanen and Vitality, they just wanted to change things up and actually go ham from the first game and show that they have no fear and they're not going to let go and they're just going to keep going at it. I think Fnatic were just too disciplined. Like maybe if they were facing a weaker team, it would have worked. Maybe they expected Fnatic to come in weaker. But Fnatic looked prepared, they looked ready, and they looked serious. And yeah, I think I know who's going to go to finals, to put it like that.
Ooh. Yeah, it definitely looks like Fnatic's rolling pretty well. One thing I want to ask you is, I mean, Nemesis, he took over for Fnatic at the beginning of the split, took over from Caps. And I think he's finally, well, not finally, but about halfway through the split, he started to really click with the team. And then you saw in the game 3 with his Kale, he absolutely took over. So now that Nemesis is fully engaged into what Fnatic's doing, how much do you think they've improved, and how dangerous do you think they are going forward here?
I think that when you get a player like Nemesis into your team who's not as vocal as Caps was, especially in the end, obviously there's a transition period for the team to actually get familiar with this new player and get into how the communication needs to be and everybody to know their roles, and you're sort of relearning the game together. Obviously, we saw that Fnatic was struggling in the first half of the split where the early game was just atrocious. They were able to solve their problems. They seemed like they were able to sort of find a synergy again and find the communication flow that they needed, and they were able to unlock the potential of Nemesis. They took him away from the defensive sort of long-range pokey mage mid laners and put him more on what is Nemesis's play style, to be up in people's faces, and we're able to actually play around with him, and I think it's working, and we can see that.
Well, we'll see if Fnatic can be challenged in the next stage of playoffs. But let's move on over to the other series with Splyce and SK Gaming. So Splyce took the series 3-1. What did they do to knock off Selfmade and the streak that SK Gaming had?
Yeah, so SK is pretty much the Selfmade show. Like, if he doesn't get a good game, if he doesn't get ahead, if he's not able to snowball people within the 10 first minutes of the game, SK doesn't look so impressive. But when he's actually able to take control over the early game and he's able to snowball whatever laner he wants and he's able to control the enemy jungler, like, he knows how to play the game and he's incredibly good. I think we saw in game 1 and game 4 was when SK had the best games in the series, and a big part of this is Selfmade Man actually having the stronger jungler matchup for the early game, and them also having Werlub on a champion that can actually play aggressive on the top side. I think that the issue that SK ran into for game 2 and game 3 is that they tried to put Werlub in different scenarios where he wasn't really able to get utilized, and especially in game 2 where they put him on the Karma. Like, I would never imagine him just popping off on a Karma. That just doesn't make sense to me. So I think after game 1 they got a bit cocky with their draft and it hurt them, and then they were not really sure for game 3, and then they found themselves for game 4, but it was too late.
Speaking of cocky, in game 4, Selfmade actually built Infinity Edge on Rek'Sai, which is pretty crazy. I mean, he was a little bit ahead, but I wouldn't say he was that far ahead to actually warrant going that full offensive item. Do you think that that actually backfired in game 4 and kind of cost him a little bit? I know he almost solo killed Kabe there, but then he overdived and got killed. So not the best. Do you think that that build path was actually, detrimental to SK Gaming in game 4?
I'm not going to say that his build path actually lost him the game, but if you look at the last team fight that actually ends the game, where he gets caught off and he just dies within the millisecond, and then they end up losing the entire game when they have 5 dragons and the game should be over. You know, this would not happen if you actually build serious, and that is the slap in the face, and he's going to learn from this. You know, like, this is his first playoff in LEC or LCS or this level of play. I think he felt like the game was already won. They had 5 dragons, like, the game was going smooth, so he felt like he could get away with it, but in the end it actually slapped him in the face, and he had to learn it the hard way.
So, like, as a coach, you know, when your player kind of takes the liberty to do something like that, maybe they felt like this was needed, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's their own discretion. But as a coach, how do you, like, kind of talk to a player like that? Like, what would you respond? What would be your response to a player choosing to do that?
I think, honestly, after that game, when they bring Splyce to 4 games and they're actually playing equal in 2 of the games, and you have so amateur players, you actually just got to be happy with them. And I'm sure he's killing himself over it for actually doing it, especially with how the game ended. You don't need to bring anything more on his head. You know, like, SK actually performed out of their mind this split, and they overperformed everybody's expectations. They would never be there if it wasn't for Selfmade Man. So I don't think, I wouldn't try to bring him down for him making a bad item choice in the final game when it seems like they have everything in the box. Like, that is a lesson he will learn, and he will never do it again. And he played wonderfully this entire split. I think they put up a good showing. way better than Vitality, at least.
That's fair. That's fair.
I mean, no doubt he's still rookie of the split no matter what. And again, he kind of carried SK through a lot of this split and even into the playoffs. It was actually not a super one-sided series. And I think for Splice, Kabe was really the backbone in this series. I mean, time after time, you know, it went to the late game, and he was that crutch that kind of stood up and won those team fights. So just talk about how crucial Kabe is. Obviously, it was the first pro 80 carry this season for the LEC. So what does he do just to, even if Splice screws up an early game, you still have Kabe there to rely on if it goes late. He is.
Yes, trusty is how I see Kabe as well. Like, he's always been consistent. Like, no matter when, like any time in his career, you go and look at him, he's always consistent. Like, he will always bring the damage. He will always position good. He's always disciplined. He's just always reliable. And having reliability in him means that you're able to play mid-side, you're able to play top-side, and he's still going to be reliable. You don't need to put all your eggs in the Kabe basket in order for him to carry. He's going to be able to take care of himself. And I think that for this series, that was actually a part of the issue for SK's draft, because they were actually trying to put a lot of priority towards the bottom half of the map to sort of deal with the Kabe. But you know, Kabe's going to be fine regardless.
Yeah, why attack the consistent player, right?
Yes, if I was SK in this series, like maybe it's hindsight, but I would have rather put all my eggs in the Sylphane Man basket and actually try to snowball through the top side where Werlib and put Werlib on carries. You saw when he was on Hecarim, like he's actually getting into the backline, he's doing the stuff. So if you can get the duo Werlib and Sylphane Man in good positions, I think that would have given them a way better opportunity to actually do something in this series. And we did see that when they actually had those champions.
Well, there's a lot for them as a team to look back at and hopefully improve for next time. Now let's look forward to next weekend, because Fnatic and Splice are facing off. Fnatic did say that they would have chosen to play Splice if they could have, so it's happening. So do you think Splice has a chance against Fnatic? Matt's is like, Nico, you first? What are you thinking?
Okay, if the Fnatic shows is the same that was showing in the first half of the split, then sure. If it's the same Fnatic from the second half of the split and from this playoff matchup versus Vitality, I just don't see it. Maybe they can get a game. Like, if all the stars align, then maybe they can get two. I just don't see them winning the series. Like, the shining point of Splice has been Kabe, but Reckless is better than Kabe in every possible way, I would say, especially right now. So like, I'm sorry, but I just think Fnatic will take it. It might be rough, but they will come out ahead in the end, and they're going to go to finals. I'm pretty sure of that.
Yeah, I would agree. I think like Splice's main win condition is Kabe in the late game, but Fnatic has Reckless in the late game, so it just matches up evenly, and then Fnatic's a stronger team across the map.
Is like the Fnatic playoff buff still a real thing? Like, do people, they seem to always pick themselves up in time for when it matters.
I don't know. I mean, a few splits now in a row, they've kind of started off rough, and then they find themselves, and it just transcends into playoffs. So right now, I would say they're pretty dangerous. I don't know about you, Nico.
Yeah, I think players like Soaz, players like Reckless, like, their regular season is not the most important thing in their lives. As long as they just make it to playoffs, they are happy, because in playoffs, when they get the weeks to prepare into playoffs and they actually get into the best-of-5 series once again, like, that is where these players thrive. That is what they live for. That is the feeling they want to have. Like, they want to lose a game in a series and actually feel like the pressure is on, because when you're playing best-of-1s or best-of-2s in the regular season, you know, the pressure is not really on. You don't feel it so much. Like, obviously, they felt it at the one point where they had to win the games in order to make playoffs. But it's not the same of being in a best-of-5 and either you proceed or you just fall out of playoffs. And I think that these experienced, more veteran players are unlocked in playoffs just because of the pressure that comes with it, and that's where they thrive.
That's an interesting thing that you bring up. It's like there's some players that play just better under more pressure. So I'm curious, both of you guys, so if you had to choose a player from the LEC that is best under the most pressure, who would be that player?
We'll let Nico go first.
Nico? You need time to think?
That's right.
I would say Soaz. Like, of all time, especially if we, well, let's look at LEC and Europe, right?
Yes.
If you look at Europe of all time, like, Soaz is the guy who consistently always comes through in the clutch situations. He's always there. He's always a leader. Like, he always performs good when it really matters, especially in playoffs.
especially in playoffs.
I mean, it has to be someone on Fnatic, right? Whether it's a Reckless, or you can throw it way back to when Froggen was still in in Europe.
Yeah.
Not on Fnatic, but in the Alliance days.
Alliance, yeah.
Any one of those guys.
The OGs, they just somehow they learn to do it. They learn to do it. All right, let's move on to the other match that's coming up. It's the battle of first and second. So G2 is going against Origin. How do you see this one playing out?
The hypest matchup that we're going to get before the finals. I do think that G2 was slacking off in the end of the season, but they're going to pick it up for the playoffs for sure, and they're going to take it more serious. They also have experienced players, so go back to what we talked about with Reckless and SOS. But I think that this series is going to be incredibly explosive. I do think that G2 is going to get out on top in the end, meaning that Origin loses. And I think that G2 is going to meet Fnatic in the finals in the end.
Oh.
Rip Origin.
Wow. Well, at least they put up a fight. That's the hope, right? That we're going into this.
They're going to make Rift rivals.
There you go.
Yay!
A very prestigious tournament. That's right.
Yay!
Okay, well, we're going to hold you to those predictions because we're very serious about those.
That's right. Everyone gets shamed on Twitter if they get predictions
we shame people
wrong,
on Twitter.
So it's important.
All right. Nico, thank you so much for your time and knowledge, and thank you for breaking down the LEC playoffs with us.
My pleasure.
All right, now that we've got LEC covered, it's time to hit up the LCS. But before we chat about it, let's get you caught up with some highlights.
Belter, FlyQuest trying to fight for it. They're looking to go in. Ole's able to find a taunt onto 2. JJ going to be taken very low. Turtle nearly killed out. Bursted down, taken out of the picture, and that's a double kill over to Deathly. Glacial Fissure finally going to find the life form disintegration spray interruption. Can Turtle find some sort of an outplay here? No, sir! He'll be taken out, but at least there's a couple down on the side of Golden Guardians now. It will not be enough. FlyQuest retreats. The Fountain's their only salvation, but they will not find it today.
Golden Guardians from back-to-back 10th, now 1 game away from semi-finals here.
Here comes the fight. It's going to be FlyQuest going in. Froggen's in some trouble, having to try to get himself away from this one. 200 HP remaining. Santorin already grabbing the kill, and Golden Guardians are falling left, right, and center. Definitely nearly taken down. Requiem coming out. Double kill over to POP. POP trying to make the dive happen now onto the back line. Froggen trying to get himself away. Pobelter still going to be wreaking some havoc. Haunter's able to find the kill onto Pobelter, but can he get himself away? Ole's going to be dying next. Haunter goes into the resurrection. Definitely looking to find some auto attacks left, right, and center, but he's going to be taken down. Turtle with a double kill. Make it 3. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome you to Game 5.
Right. You're not going to be able to go for the ward hop, but Contracts may just get exploded.
TP coming in. Contracts is destroyed. Lamb's Respite will keep them alive, but here comes FlyQuest. Haunter's trying to hobble away. Frog is the last man standing. Turtle smells blood in the water. Lamb's Respite keeps Golden Guardians alive. Vanguard's edge here into the middle. They're able to find Contract. They're able to find Froggen. Everybody's going to be dropping here now. FlyQuest will find their fight. All that is golden will not glitter today. And FlyQuest will defeat the Golden Guardians in Game 5. Stopwatch comes in, Broken Blade is low, Solo can revive. He's going to find both revives here, but already Jarvan is dead. 1-0 in favor of Echo Fox. They push back TSM. He's sleeping. A double kill. The center of the backline, he flashes in. Can't get the kill just yet. Stopwatch burn. Now look at Acadian. Look at the backline. Sven chased by a Solo. Solo gets 1. Looks for Acadian. They find the second. They've completely crushed the backline. Who gets up Echo Fox? We've got more games to see, but game 1 goes to the underdogs. The play finds the ult, burns the cleanse, flash knock, they've got the burst damage, 2 games in a row, first blood to TSM. 1-0 in that fight, now looking for the re-engage in the front line towards the Braum, onto that shield, exhaust on Sven, Vega still chase Apollo, rooted in place, gets the rend when it resets, he's very, very low, and asleep, they're gonna find the burst, 2 kills for Bjergsen, the Drake traded back, but it's still +1 kill, and they're finding even more, he's running for the hills, trying to stay alive, looking for the next play, big damage out of Bjergsen, he's got a flash, he can burn, this could be the chase down, he's got Phoenix, and they're gonna get Rush as well. Solo over the wall trying to run, but they can still get more. Apollo is trying to get away. Bjergsen finds a third. They're gonna find number 2. Echobox must do something or they will lose their base, but Bjergsen kites back. They find that flash pulverized. Phoenix is low. They don't get him just yet, but TSM, you hear it from the crowd. They have won, and they're into the semifinals.
All right, so the first playoff series was FlyQuest versus the Golden Guardians. This one went the distance, but eventually FlyQuest came out on top. So, what did FlyQuest do to get that series?
This was like the playoff series that no one knew they wanted until it kind of happened, but it actually turned out to be kind of interesting, and especially just looking at like the draft and how the meta evolved just in this series alone, it was actually pretty interesting. I mean, we started off, everyone's eyes always on Froggen, right? And right away he plays Karthus mid, they get that first game victory, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, here we go, it's the Froggen show. But then FlyQuest starts to adapt, and Froggen goes on to like Lissandra, which is not a Froggen champion, and FlyQuest battles back, and eventually in Game 5, it's Pobelter, the opposing mid laner, who kind of takes over, pops off on Zoe, and FlyQuest moves on in a pretty crazy back and forth Game 5, and just a series overall. So FlyQuest moving on, but it was really close, and it was Pobelter who kind of shone over Froggen, which was not exactly who people were expecting.
Were you surprised by this result, though? Like,
a little
was it
bit.
surprising?
I thought Golden Guardians would win after how they finished the split and just all the things that they can kind of throw at an enemy team just based on Froggen's pocket picks alone, whether it's Anivia, which he didn't pull out, but we saw Vel'Koz and Karthus. So there was a lot of things that they could throw at an enemy that FlyQuest wouldn't expect, but they were able to barely hold on and adapt just enough to move on to face Team Liquid.
Well, this is a lesson right there. You can't just have one player be the main focus and all those pocket picks, right?
Yeah.
But all right, let's move on to the other series because that was exciting too. TSM versus Echo Fox. Now TSM were heavy favorites, and after dropping Game 1, they won the next 3. So let's start with that first game. How did Echo Fox take that first game, and then how did TSM go on to adapt?
Well, they actually had a really good early game where Rush was going up to help out Solo in the top lane, but Rush also had a lot of issues on Kindred. He ulted late one time, which resulted in Solo dying. He also jumped out of his ultimate so that he himself died. But despite that, they held on just with like solid team fighting and good Baron play, which ended in that Game 1 win. But after that, Rush went on to Jarvan, a character who he won a lot of games with going down the stretch with Echo Fox, and he lost all of them. And he was just making these engages and missing EQs, and he got a lot of flack for it. But on the other end, Acadian was stellar, and the draft was just like, let's give him Rek'Sai. He was very aggressive, got first bloods for TSM, and the early game was enough to be like, you know what, Echo Fox, your early game is not good enough to hold up to ours. We're just going to take these early leads and carry it over into pretty easy victories.
You know, I feel bad, though. I don't think we should be too hard on, like, Rush, because when a player feels so much pressure to carry their team, this is what happens. Mistakes happen. And this is like the Huni, you know, complex all over again. It's they feel this pressure. And so let's not be too mean on Rush. But, you know, they have a lot to work on for next season. And hopefully they can do that.
I think it was just enough for them to make it into the playoffs after the rough start they had. Rush coming back after that little hiatus, comes back in week 8, they win 4 in a row, they make playoffs. And TSM, let's be honest, they're huge favorites over Echo Fox, so even them just getting that far is impressive.
That's true. So now let's look forward to the upcoming matches because there's some really good ones. So Team Liquid, they chose FlyQuest. Shocker as who they want to play. So what do you think about that matchup?
Yeah, not shocker. That was heavy sarcasm treatment. But I mean, obviously, if you're going to choose TSM or FlyQuest, you're going to go for FlyQuest. I mean, Team Liquid's owner, Steve, said on Twitter, we're going to pick TSM. Guess what? They did not pick TSM.
Troll.
It was a troll, and obviously it's the correct thing to do because FlyQuest is definitely a weaker team. They won 5 games against Golden Guardians. I think we can all say that Team Liquid is a stronger team than the Golden Guardians. So if you get pushed to your limits by them, then it's going to be pretty rough going against the #1 team in the league. Obviously, the only concern is Team Liquid's end of the split where they lost a bunch of games.
Didn't they lose to FlyQuest?
They did lose to FlyQuest in that flurry of losses. So we're going to slurry. That's right. I slurred my words into flurry. So we'll see if that has any effect. I don't think it will. I'm sure Team Liquid, after a week off and a bunch of practice, is going to be totally fine. They've been scrimming against Cloud9 a lot this week, and that's a pretty good competition to practice against. So pretty sure it's going to be a pretty clean sledding for Team Liquid.
Yeah, you bring Cloud9 up. Hopefully the practice works because they're going up against TSM. So there's that rivalry with TSM and Cloud9, and it's coming back. So who do you think is the favorite for this matchup?
This one is very hard to predict. I mean, TSM has won 6 straight regular season games into that playoff series against Echo Fox, and they look pretty convincing after dropping the first game, which even arguably you could have said they win that series too. So I think that it's TSM in 5, but it's going to be really tight. And obviously Cloud9's got a lot of veterans on this team. Every year they go into playoffs as not the top favorites, but they're right underneath. And then they show you that they got what it takes, right? But TSM right now, I just really like what they're doing in the early game. Sometimes Ven looks like OG Niels. I mean, you saw on his Kalista in game 2, he was like popping off again, and he's kind of gone back into form. And everything just makes sense with the way they're playing right now. Bjergsen, obviously the man in the mid lane, holding his own. Criticism has kind of evaporated, and Acadian looks like he's fitting in with this team. So if they can get the early game going, I think that TSM can topple Cloud9, which is probably going to be considered an upset. But I would say TSM in 5.
All right. Remember, I'm going to hold you to these as well.
That's right.
I'm going to shame you if you're wrong. And so we do have to do one more thing. We have to pick the player of the week. So who is your choice?
I think it'd be a little too easy just to give it to someone from TSM, and also I don't know who I would choose out of that team because they all had a pretty good damn week, right? So I'm going to go with Pobelter from FlyQuest after that amazing Game 5 victory over Golden Guardians. I mean, he came up absolutely huge in Game 5, picking up that Zoe, and he was just chasing after opponents through the jungle, landing all of his skill shots, bursting out his opponents, and it was an absolutely disgusting performance that almost single-handedly carried them into the semifinals. Also in Game 2 on his Swain, he was just landing all of his abilities, and in a couple of these games, he was the main source of damage and one of the guys who just absolutely carried FlyQuest to the next round. And he's not normally the guy in past teams who have been, you know, he's not the star of the show normally. He's a supportive player for a double lift in the Team Liquid days or the CLG days. Right. But now on FlyQuest, along with Wild Turtle, he's the main carry, and he came up absolutely massive, and now they're moving on to the semifinals. So big ups to Pobelter after his huge performance.
Oh, well, we'll see if he can actually step up in the next playoff series. Well, next week, there is no more shortage of awesome matchups to talk about, so make sure you keep your eyes on the LCS and LEC. Now, tomorrow, AJ and Ron will take over Esports in 30 to talk about the Overwatch League, but until then, make sure you check us out on our socials at Squad State, and we will see you tomorrow.
I love that third addition to the couch. That needs to happen every week. Remember, we're back at it tomorrow starting at 1 p.m. with gameplay live from the green room. Then again at 8 p.m. Eastern, we have more Unmuted, The Loadout, as well as in Esports in 30, AJ and Ron are talking Overwatch. Till then, you can check out our socials at Squad State and our YouTube channel for all the VODs in case you missed anything. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.